You need your clay to be a little bit wider than your bowl, so I'm going to measure. It's definitely not big enough. I need this to be more circular, so I'm going to turn it the other way so that when I start to roll, it's going to start to get a little bit taller the other way. I need a nice circular slab in order to make a circular bowl. When I get it rolled out, I'm going to take my bowl and put it upside down on my clay, tap on the bottom so that the circle taps into the clay. Then I'm going to take a pin tool and I'm going to start to trace around the circle. I want the circle to actually be an inch thicker than the original circle. So I'm going to make sure that I cut at least an inch outer of the circle. Then I can peel the circle off of my canvas piece. Now I'm going to take my bowl and I'm going to put it upside down on my canvas piece. There are two different types of bowls. I tend to like the rounder one. This one's a little bit harder to go across. I do need to put some paper towels down to make sure that it doesn't stick. Always use 2 paper towels, one going across and one going up and down. Now I'm going to take my nice clay circle and put it on my bowl. I have to make sure I push it on really, really well. It has to be really tight around the bowl. Now you're going to get your water bowl with your sponge, wring out your sponge, and you're going to neatly and nicely make sure it's nice and smooth all around your bowl. You do need to add a coil to your bowl, so the easiest way to do that is to add a base to your bowl. I'm going to start by rolling my coil starting in the middle and moving my hands to the side so it gets nice and even. I'm going to make a spiral coil so it doesn't really matter how thick it is. I'm going to take one end and keep turning it until it gets all the way to the other end. I do have to slip and score this on, so I'm going to scratch one side of the coil and then a small part onto my bowl. Then I'm going to use my finger to add my slip, making sure I can see the slip on my finger. And then I'm going to put this onto the bottom. I do want to tap it on so that it sticks on, adheres, and makes a suction. I'm also going to tap it onto the canvas to make sure it's nice and flat. Now I can go ahead and smooth out the inside. I do need to be careful because I don't want it to flatten out too much. I'm going to use the side of my hand to kind of cup around the edge to smooth it out. If the rim of your bowl seems a little jagged and off, just use your clay knife and trim around the edge. Be really careful not to trim too much off. Make really small cuts at first. I like to cut just a small portion at first and then use my sponge to wrap around the rim, fold it over a little bit, and then smooth around the edge. Once I have the edges all nice and smooth, I need to put my bowl back onto the bowl mold in order to dry. This is going to ensure that it stays in the bowl shape.